I woke up that morning with a familiar warmth settling in my chest, a mix of excitement and gratitude. Today marked 5 years since Maya and I had promised each other forever. The anniversary felt like a milestone not just for our marriage, but for everything we had built together, the laughter, the dreams, the struggles overcome hand in hand. Sunlight streamed softly through the gauzy curtains, painting the room in golden hues. I could hear faint birdsong outside, and the world seemed to pause just for a moment, as if nature itself was celebrating with me. I breathed deeply, savoring the tranquility before the day unfolded. Maya was still asleep beside me, her breathing slow and peaceful. Her dark hair fanned around her pale face, and the soft rise and fall of her chest made my heart ache with affection. I traced a finger along her cheek, memorizing the curve, the subtle freckles that caught the light. She stirred, eyes fluttering, open to meet mine. "Happy anniversary," I whispered, brushing a stray strand from her forehead. She smiled, that radiant, mischievous smile I fell for years ago, the one that made my world spin and settle all at once. "I almost forgot," she teased, voice thick with sleep. "You remembered." "I've been planning all week," I confessed. "You deserve everything beautiful." The morning ritual felt sacred. I slipped out of bed and tiptoed to the kitchen, determined to make the day unforgettable. The scent of fresh coffee filled the small apartment as I prepared her favorite breakfast, fluffy pancakes drizzled with honey and a handful of blueberries. I set the table with care, lighting a single candle for ambiance. When Maya entered, wrapped in a soft robe, her eyes widened in surprise. "This is perfect," she said softly. We ate slowly, savoring every bite and every glance. Conversations flowed easily, talking about our dreams, laughing about inside jokes from college, planning future trips we hoped to take. I felt connected to her, like we were two souls dancing on the same wavelength. Later, I gifted her a small box wrapped neatly with a silver ribbon. Inside lay a delicate necklace, an intricate pendant shaped like a heart entwined with a rose. Her eyes shimmered with tears as she clasped it around her neck. "This means more than you know," she murmured, pulling me into an embrace. Everything about the day felt right, yet beneath the surface, I sensed a distance I couldn't quite name. Maybe it was my own insecurities whispering fears in the quiet moments, or perhaps something was shifting in the spaces between us. We spent the afternoon walking through the city park, hand in hand, the late spring air fragrant with blooming jasmine and fresh grass. Children played nearby, couples strolled past with soft smiles. I watched Maya closely, the way her gaze occasionally flickered to her phone, the brief tightening of her lips when I mentioned how much I loved her. At Chio. Dusk, we arrived at the rooftop restaurant overlooking the skyline. Candlelight flickered across her face as she laughed, the city lights twinkling beneath us like a sea of stars. We ordered wine, sharing memories and promises as the night deepened. But then, just as I reached to hold her hand, she pulled away, slightly. Her eyes grew distant, and the smile faltered. "Is something wrong?" I asked, heart tightening. She shook her head, forcing a laugh. "No, just tired. Long day." Still, I felt the subtle shift. The invisible thread that connected us seemed thinner, stretched taut. I brushed off the unease, focusing instead on making her feel loved. When we returned home, I prepared the bedroom with rose petals and soft music, hoping to rekindle the passion that had brought us together in the first place. I watched her closely, searching for signs of affection or hesitation. She slipped out of her dress, revealing skin glowing in the candlelight. For a moment, everything seemed perfect. The warmth, the desire, the closeness we shared. But then, her phone buzzed again. She glanced at the screen quickly, tucking it away before I could see. A pang of doubt twisted inside me, but I swallowed it down. We lay together, the silence between us louder than any words. My fingers traced her back, seeking reassurance, but her body stiffened slightly beneath my touch. I wanted to believe in us, to believe that this day was a celebration of love, not the beginning of a fracture. As sleep claimed us both, I didn't. Know that the next morning would unravel the illusion, revealing truths I never wanted to face. The sunlight that greeted me the next morning felt different, cooler, harsher. As I opened my eyes, the weight beside me was lighter than usual. Maya wasn't there. I sat up slowly, a quiet unease settling deep in my bones. The bedroom smelled faintly of her perfume, but the warmth was missing. I grabbed my phone, expecting a message or a missed call, but nothing. I dressed quickly and wandered toward the living room. Her jacket lay on the coat rack, untouched. The keys were missing from the bowl on the table. I found the coffee cup in the sink, half full, cold. No sign of her anywhere. My heart pounded with a strange mix of worry and something I couldn't name. I called her number once, twice, but it went straight to voicemail. I waited. Minutes ticked by like hours. The silence grew heavier, pressing against my chest. When Maya finally walked through the door, hours later, her face was unreadable. She didn't greet me with a smile or a kiss. Instead, she moved past me, dropping her bag carelessly on the floor. "Where have you been?" I asked, voice shaking. "Out!" she replied curtly, avoiding my gaze. I swallowed the lump in my throat. "Why didn't you answer your phone? I was worried." She shrugged, tiredness darkening her eyes. "My phone died." Something in her tone felt off, detached, distant. The woman I loved seemed to be slipping through my fingers like sand. We sat in silence for a while, the unspoken words hanging thick between us. I wanted to reach out to bridge the growing gap, but fear held me back. Later, I tried again. "Maya, if something's wrong, you can tell me." She finally looked at me, her eyes flickering with something. Regret? Shame? Or something darker? "I'm fine," she said softly, but the words felt hollow. I wanted to believe her, but the nagging doubts gnawed at my mind. That night, sleep eluded me. I found myself scrolling through our old photos, laughing faces frozen. In time, memories of happier days. How had we come to this fragile silence? The next morning, I resolved to give her space. Maybe she needed time to sort through whatever was weighing on her. But as days passed, the distance only grew. Maya became elusive, spending more time on her phone, often slipping out without telling me. I noticed the subtle changes, the way she stiffened when I entered the room, the quick glances she shot at messages before hiding the screen. One evening, I decided to follow her quietly, hoping to understand what was happening. I trailed her through dimly lit streets until she stopped at a small cafe I didn't recognize. I watched from across the street as she met a man, tall, confident, with a sly smile. Their eyes locked in a way that made my stomach churn. I saw her lean in, laughter spilling from her lips. Then, impossibly, they kissed. The world seemed to tilt, colors fading to gray. My heart shattered in that moment, not just because of the betrayal, but because she showed no hesitation, no guilt. I wanted to scream, to run, to confront her then and there. But something held me back. Shock, disbelief, fear of what this truth meant. I slipped away silently. The image burned into my mind like fire. That night, I confronted her gently, hoping for an explanation. But Maya looked at me with empty eyes, as if the love we once shared was already gone. She whispered, "I'm sorry." But the apology felt distant, rehearsed. I realized then that our anniversary was not a celebration, but the beginning of an end I never saw coming. Days blurred into nights, and the space between Maya and me grew impossible to ignore. I tried everything to reclaim the warmth we once had. Gentle conversations, surprise gestures, quiet dinners. But every attempt felt like shouting into an empty room. One evening I sat alone in our dimly lit living room, the city's distant hum filtering through the windows. I held the necklace I had gifted her, now cold and heavy in my palm. It was meant to symbolize our love, but now it felt like a relic from another life. I replayed the scene from that cafe over and over, the way her lips met his, the careless smile she wore as if she belonged somewhere else. My mind fought to find answers, but only questions remained. Why did she do it? Had I missed the signs? Was I not enough? Maya returned home late that night, her eyes tired, but she avoided looking at me. I wanted to ask, to demand the truth, but fear kept me silent. Instead, I poured myself a glass of whiskey and sank into the worn armchair, letting the burn dull the ache inside. The next morning, I woke with a resolve. I needed to understand, if not for her, then for myself. I followed her again, this time with trembling steps and a heart heavy with dread. She entered a small apartment complex on the outskirts of town, exchanging a quick kiss with the man from before. They laughed softly, whispers mingling in the dim hallway. I wanted to turn away, to pretend I had never seen it, but my feet rooted to the spot. That night, I confronted Maya again, unable to bear the silence. She looked at me, eyes devoid of warmth. "I didn't mean to hurt you," she said quietly, voice trembling. "Why?" I asked, desperation spilling over. "Why would you do this to us?" She hesitated, then confessed a truth I wasn't prepared for. "I felt alive with him, something I lost with you." Her words stabbed deeper than any betrayal. I realized then that love wasn't enough to hold us together, not when desire and loneliness crept in the shadows. I stood there, broken, grappling with the cruel reality that the woman I loved had already slipped away. I never imagined that a single glance could unravel everything. Yet, every time I looked at Maya, I saw the ghost of that kiss, the way her lips had pressed against his with such ease, as if it meant nothing. The house, once a sanctuary, now felt like a cage. Each room held memories that stung like salt. Our first dance in the living room, the laughter that once filled the kitchen, the quiet mornings we spent wrapped in each other's arms. But now, silence ruled. I tried to hate her. I wanted to scream, to throw accusations that would shatter the fragile walls around her. I wanted to punish her for the pain she caused, yet, beneath that anger, a darker, more confusing feeling took root, a twisted yearning that I couldn't ignore. I caught myself, imagining her touch, the softness of her skin, the curve of her neck. I longed for the warmth she once gave freely. Lust, mingled with betrayal, twisted my mind into knots. One night, I found her standing by the window, staring into the darkness. I approached cautiously, heart pounding. "Why?" I asked again. Voice, barely more than a whisper. She turned slowly, eyes glistening. "I don't know." The honesty in her admission broke something inside me. We stood there, two broken souls suspended between love and pain. I reached out, tracing a trembling hand along her cheek. "Can we fix this?" She shook her head, tears spilling freely. "I don't know if we can." In that moment, I realized that some wounds don't heal with words or promises. They fester in silence, eating away at trust. But I also knew I wasn't ready to let go, not yet. Despite everything, the fire between us still flickered, fragile but alive. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough to keep fighting. Days slipped by in a haze of unresolved tension. Maya and I drifted through our routines like strangers sharing a space, the air thick with unsaid apologies and shattered hopes. Each glance between us held the weight of secrets neither dared to voice. I found myself caught in a whirlwind of emotions, anger, sorrow, and a desperate longing to reclaim what we had lost. The ache inside was unbearable, yet every attempt to bridge the divide seemed to push her further away. One evening, I came home to find the apartment dimly lit, soft music playing in the background. Maya sat on the couch, a glass of wine in hand, eyes searching mine. Without a word, she reached out and pulled me close. The scent of her skin ignited a spark I thought had died. Our lips met, tentative at first, then with a fierce hunger that surprised us both. In that moment, the betrayal felt distant, overshadowed by the raw intensity of our connection. But as we collapsed into each other's arms, reality crashed back. I whispered her name, voice thick with pain and desire. "Can we ever be the same?" She shook her head, tears mingling with the heat of the moment. "I don't know, but I don't want to lose you." We clung to each other, caught between the past's wounds and the uncertain future. That night, amidst whispered promises and trembling touches, I realized that love is complicated, a fragile dance between trust and temptation, loyalty and lust. And, though the path ahead was uncertain, I was willing to walk it, step by painful step, if it meant saving the woman I still loved. The days that followed were a delicate balance, moments of tenderness interwoven with shadows of doubt. Maya and I tiptoed around the fractures, trying to rebuild a foundation shaken to its core. We spoke more honestly than we had in months, unraveling the tangled emotions that had driven us apart. I learned that her betrayal wasn't born out of malice, but from loneliness and a desperate search for something missing between us. She confessed that the man wasn't just a fleeting distraction, but a mirror reflecting what she felt we'd lost. A spark, a connection, a passion that had withered under the weight of routine and silence. I listened, pain cutting through every word. Yet beneath it, I felt a fragile thread of understanding begin to weave between us. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, we sat together on the balcony, wrapped in a shared blanket. The city lights flickered around us, casting soft glows on her face. "I don't know what the future holds," she whispered, fingers entwined with mine. "Neither do I replied, "but I want to try. For us." Her eyes glistened with tears, not of sorrow but hope. We both knew the road ahead would be difficult. Trust would need to be earned again, wounds would need time to heal. But love, in all its messy, complicated glory, had given us a second chance. On that night beneath the vast sky, I realized that forgiveness isn't forgetting. It's choosing to move forward despite the scars. And as I held her close, I vowed to fight for the love that had been tested but not broken. Because sometimes the greatest strength lies in embracing imperfection and finding beauty in the struggle to heal.